Hello, 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 and welcome back to A Little Birdie Told You. I'm your host, Kristen Knight.
And I'm your host, Kelly Knight.
Have you ever been talking to somebody and then all of a sudden you're wanting to progress the relationship and maybe they tell you, I'm not really ready for a relationship right now. Or maybe you're in a relationship and, a few months go down the road and they're telling you, I just don't know if I see a future with you anymore. I'm not sure if you're the person for me. What do you do? What do you do if somebody's unsure about you? What do you do if you've been vulnerable with this person and then all of a sudden they just come to tell you that, I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship. I don't know if this is what I want in my life right now. What do you do? How do you approach the person? Well, today that is what we are going to talk about with you guys. And I want to first start, I'm going to split this into two, okay? Because I want to discuss, there's a difference. There's a difference when you're friends with somebody or you're talking to somebody or you like somebody and they're not ready for a relationship. And then there's a difference when you're in a relationship and that person comes to tell you that they don't know if they want to be in a relationship anymore. They don't know if they see a future. There's kind of a difference here because there's more established in a relationship compared to just being friends. So let's start with the friends. And I'm going to give my advice to everybody who's going through this right now, that if you're talking to somebody and they just tell you, well, I want to be friends, or I want to maybe like have what we got going on, but I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I just don't see you that way. What do you do? Okay. What are we going to do about that? First and foremost, I want everyone to zone in on themselves because what I think is important here is you have to ask yourself, what do you really want? And I always tell everyone this, ask yourself, how do you feel about this person? Especially if someone tells you that. Don't you agree, Kelly?
Yeah, because I think you should question how you feel rather than how they feel. Because I think a lot of the time when you like somebody, you're always questioning about how they feel about you. And really, you should be questioning, do I really feel like I want to be in a relationship with anyone right now? Not even just the specific person in front of me, but just in general with someone.
Well, I feel when you've been open with a person and maybe you've confessed, I see this possibly blossoming into a relationship. And they tell you that they don't, it tells you that you're not on the same page with that person. And something that's important in a relationship is that we align with the person that we're with. We don't want to be in a relationship with somebody who's going south when we're going north. We don't want that. We want to both be going down this path together. Inevitably, you might not remain on that path forever. But at this point, when you're deciding, should I be in a relationship with this person, that's important to consider. Do we want to be in a relationship with somebody who's like, well, I actually kind of want to see other people and maybe, experiment around. And then you're like, well, okay, too, I'll do that too. But you actually want the end result to be you and that person in a relationship. You have to ask yourself that. Do they see what I see? Because if they don't, you can't convince somebody to see something that they're not going to see. Okay?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people try to force that. Like, I think it's easier when you're just talking to somebody as a friend or like, a situationship, whatever you want to call it. And they come out and they say that because that gives you time to be like, okay, I can back away from this. You know what I'm saying? Rather than being like, okay, we have to break up because we're not clicking on that path. Because if you sit there and you try to force it and they want to see other people, they're going to end up seeing other people behind your back. And it's not going to go right. And then later down the road, you guys are going to have to separate either way. So don't sit there and force it. Like, if somebody doesn't want what you want, let them find what they want to find and you go find, better.
Take this into consideration that this is why you take the time to get to know somebody.
Yeah, that's exactly what the talking stage is for, is because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I've already I know so much about them, it's fine, I can move on. You know what I'm saying? We can move to the next level. But really, realistically, some people think it's cringy to ask those questions. You know what I'm saying? Do you see us going anywhere? What do you want out of a relationship? You know what I'm saying? When really those are just in general questions that you should know.
Keep in mind, though, that don't demand questions on somebody.
No, but
because, well, no, it's good to ask questions, but don't demand questions on somebody. If somebody came up to me and demanded all these questions on me,
but if you're in a talking stage, it's fine to ask those questions.
It is okay. But I also think when you're talking to somebody, there is opportunity for them to talk to other people.
Yeah.
They're not committed to you. And that's why I always say, if you're talking to somebody, do not think that you are in a committed relationship with them. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm loyal. When I talk to somebody, I'm just talking to them. Why are you doing that is actually what I'm asking right now. Why are you putting all your energy and focus onto one person right now? Because that's for them to say, you know what, I actually don't know if this is the person I want to see, because they could be talking to somebody else right now behind your back. And maybe they are the only person that you're talking to. But do not tell them that. Yeah, a lot of people come out and they're like, you're the only person I'm talking to. And like, that's something that they should look at and, praise. And I get it. That's the type of person you are. But do not tell them that, because now they're going to know that you don't have any options. And that's going to make you seem more available to them. And they're going to take that for granted. They're going to look at them and say, oh, you don't have any other options. Sometimes, even though it's kind of a game and it's a bit of a manipulation, but people sometimes don't want something that nobody else wants. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you don't look busy, if you do not appear busy, you become less attractive. And it's the truth. It's the hard truth. If you always seem available for a person, you become less attractive. And that could be the possible reason why somebody says, I don't know if I want to take this to the next level. I don't know if I want to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
When if you're talking to somebody, one thing that can come across is if you act like you're only available to them, that makes me think, okay, when we're in a relationship, you're just going to put all the energy onto me, and you're going to have nothing else going on in your life. Talking stages, and I know this is kind of aside from what we're talking about right now, but at the same time, it's not. Talking stages are to get to know someone.
Yeah.
A lot can be revealed in a talking stage. Sometimes people cover everything up and they want to be all sweet to you and kind. But the thing that you have to look at is somebody's actions. And that's what's important here, is look at someone's actions. If they are telling you they are not ready to be in a relationship with you, I think that should be clear as day in their actions. If you notice someone's kind of distant with me, they're kind of cold, and they play this cat and mouse game, they lead me on, but then they pull back. That shows you right there the type of person that they are.
They're not ready.
They're not ready for a relationship. And maybe they're not, when they say I'm not ready for a relationship, maybe it just means that you're not the person they're interested in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just say that as like an easy route. Like, I think we've all heard that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
like a kind insult.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a way of being like, I'm not ready for a relationship. When really, they don't really like want anything to do with you anymore, but they don't know how to say it in a nice way, so they just say that instead.
Sometimes guys want to be nice, but they're trying to hurt you because they know that if they hurt you, it'll actually
you might
make
not
you
come
more,
back.
Yeah, it'll make you more distant with them. But if you value yourself, you're not going to put yourself in a predicament where you're constantly going to be getting hurt by somebody, especially if you're not in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
If you're not in a relationship with somebody and you're just friends with them and you're just starting to get to know them, there's really no attachment there. Maybe there's a little bit of, moments that you've had with them, but at the same time, there's a lot more other people out here.
Yeah.
You're not committed to them yet. And they're showing you who they are before you're committed to them. So that should show you they're not suitable for me. They don't see the value that I bring to the table. They don't see who I am. They do not appreciate the effort I'm giving. So that's when you should say, I'm not going to participate in this. I'm moving away from this. I would really recommend, if you're talking to somebody right now and they tell you they're not ready for a relationship, that's when I would kind of back off. I wouldn't be mean. Do not convince somebody either. I know that I just said that. Do not convince them. Give them space. I wouldn't even really communicate with them about it, because you're not in a relationship with them unless you've been talking for a while. And if you've been talking for a while and they, this is something I want to also bring up, because I think this is important. If you've been talking to somebody for a while and they've said, oh, well, I'm not ready for a relationship, but then they still give you affection and attention as if they are.
Yeah, like they're trying to keep you around, like little breadcrumbs, Kristen likes to say.
Yes, my little breadcrumbs.
Just to like keep you there. You know what I'm saying? As like a little side person, so they can talk to other people, but they don't want to tell you that. So they keep you around just in case.
They give you little breadcrumbs
with their other little fish that they're feeding.
They give you breadcrumbs to keep you around, to feed you. I'm gonna give you a little bit. Don't leave me. Because they have other people to make sure that they fulfill. Honey, you do not deserve the breadcrumbs. No. You deserve the whole loaf of bread, okay? The butter, the whole 9 yards. You deserve it all, okay?
Yeah.
You do not deserve the little breadcrumbs, okay? No. And if somebody is going to treat you that way, what makes you think they're going to treat you any better in a relationship? Yeah. Because right now they're talking to you and that's how they're going to treat you? Honey, no. We're not going to get in a relationship with them.
And sometimes that can be the opposite way too. Being like in a talking stage and somebody gives their all to you at the beginning, right? And then the second you get in a relationship, it's like little piece of it, you know what I'm saying? Then they start the breadcrumbs, you know what I'm saying? Like they kind of let it all go and they just kind of like throw a little like here and there, you know what I'm saying, to keep you around.
No, don't tell this guy or this girl. And I kind of want to just focus.
You're feeding me breadcrumbs.
No, yeah, do not say that. But actually, you can say what you want. I'm not going to tell you what to say. But I will say, I'm going to kind of aim this at guys because we're girls. We're going to use guys in this perspective, but I feel this can go for anyone. Always keep in mind, ladies, A guy will do anything for you if he truly cares about you.
Yeah.
Okay. If he wants to be with you, he will make sure that is done.
Yeah.
If he wants to make sure that he takes you out and you're with him, he's going to make sure that's done. If he wants to see you, he will see you. I've told Kelly this numerous amounts of times. I've told Kelly, she's like, oh, you know, this and this and this. And I'm like, if they want to, they will. We know that. Okay. We don't even need to get into it. If they want to, they will. If you're questioning it, that tells you the answer right there. Listen to your gut. We have a good gut instinct, and you know when you know. And you know that when someone likes you, you should know, okay?
You shouldn't have to question it, because you should be like, oh my gosh, this person, like, you can obviously tell they really like me, because you shouldn't have to sit there and be like, you know, do they like me? Because, like, if you have to question that, obviously they don't.
And if he says, I'm not ready for a relationship, don't sit him down and say, oh, I'm not like other girls. You're never going to find anyone else like me.
You can't, like, talk
He should already know this.
Because if you sit there and you put, like, words come from your mouth to try to put them in their head, it's not going to work. Because either way, they're just going to go right back to where they started.
He should already know this.
Yeah.
And if he can't see what you can see in yourself, then he's not the right person for you.
Yeah.
I'm living in a day now where you have to realize what's suitable for you and trying to crave someone else's affection.
Yeah.
We have to realize what's suitable for us now. And if something isn't suitable for you, if someone's not going to meet your needs, if you constantly have to prove yourself to someone, they're not the right person for you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to prove yourself to anyone. You should build something with someone. You should improve together. And if you're having to prove yourself constantly and constantly over and over again, then that's not the right person for you. You shouldn't have to do that. Find someone who's suitable for you. Find somebody that says, you know what, I am ready for a relationship with you. If someone says, I'm trying to get to know you more, there's a difference there. I know that's kind of something where I'm trying to get to know you more. I don't want to jump into a relationship. But I'm saying if somebody's like, I'm not ready for a relationship, I just want to have fun, then you might not be the right person for them. And it might be a hard truth. Maybe you really, really like this person. You're like, wow, I thought this was the person I was going to be with. And I thought things were going well. But you just have to be honest with yourself. Is this what you want? Do you want to be with somebody and talk to somebody you constantly have to prove to yourself, I'm worthy of you? No, they're not worthy of you. They don't deserve you because they don't see the value that you have. Now, if you're in a relationship and, you know, everything's fine, you're running smoothly, you know, they've treated you well. And then all of a sudden, maybe they come to tell you, you know, I don't know if I see a future with you anymore. I don't know if this is, you're the person, or if
this is what I want.
Yeah,
you know
if this is what I want. If someone's told you that, I don't know if this is what I want anymore. I don't know if I'm 100% involved in this and want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah.
That can be a really big, frustrating decision to make. What do I do? Because it's not as easy as I'm talking to somebody, I can let them go, right? This is a situation where you have to think in depth. I'm going to be losing somebody that is a part of my life now. I have somebody who I've established something with. And you ask yourself, what do I do? What do I do if they don't want to be with me anymore? You have to ask yourself again, like we just said, you have to tone back into yourself. And I also think it's important to communicate with the person. But I'm going to talk about yourself for a minute because this is your relationship and you have a relationship with yourself too, aside from the relationship with the person. You have to ask yourself, is this what you really want? Do you want to be with this person as well? And because obviously they're going through some conflicting battle within themselves right now that's making them pose this question to you. And I don't automatically want to say, oh, just let them go. Because sometimes what I think is a little interesting is sometimes the person has to know what it's like without you to realize that you're the person that they actually want. And I think if this person is treating you badly and treating you unfairly in the relationship, then it might be time to go. It might be time to say, okay, well, I don't think this is going to work out for me. But if you're in a relationship with somebody and they are telling you these things, communicate with the person about how you feel. Maybe they can express to you why they feel this way. Maybe there's things going on in their life behind the scenes that you don't necessarily see, that you didn't know of, that are making them a little confused about the relationship, or maybe needs aren't being met, etc. But I also think it's important to ask yourself, do you want somebody who's only going to give you 60%, or do you want somebody who's going to give you 100%?
Yeah.
And effort's important. Effort's important in a relationship. And I think sometimes we wait and we want them to change, but you can't change someone's perspective. No matter if you're talking to them or if you're actually in a relationship, sometimes you can't wait for someone to change their mind for you, because time is money. Time is important to yourself. Time is the most valuable thing that you're going to have. So you have to ask yourself, am I going to give this person my time? Am I going to wait around for them to change when they're always going to think the same way of me? The thing about a guy is sometimes a guy, when he's at his weak points, is needy for you. He wants you. He wants to make sure that he's getting attention from you because he craves that during his weak points. But when he's strong, he realizes he doesn't want you anymore. And you don't deserve to be in that predicament where somebody's constantly going back and forth and saying, 1 minute I want you, and then 1 minute I don't want you. Do you agree?
Yeah. Because I think a lot of the time people obviously want what they can't have. So I think a lot of the time people want it, and then when they get it, they're like, oh, like, I don't really care too much about it. So they put less effort in as time goes on. And some people are the ones that are like, okay, I'm going to communicate about it, and I'm going to tell this person, like, you don't put as much effort in because obviously you deserve it, because you could find better. And I know that sounds bad, and I know a lot of people are going to say a lot of bad things about that. But at the end of the day, you only live once, and you deserve better at some points.
This is your life, and this is your time. Like I said, you have to ask yourself, is this what you truly want? Do you want to wait around for somebody? Do you want to wait for somebody to change their mind about you?
And like we've said, never wait for someone, because waiting, who knows if you're going to be here tomorrow. I mean, I'm not trying to say that, but you shouldn't sit there and wait. Go live your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you are meant to come across that person again, it will happen.
You're ruining your time and your mindset by being with somebody who doesn't know if you're the person for them. And maybe you think that they're the person for you, but there's a lot of fish out here in the sea, and you might find somebody. And everyone always says this. I hear this so much, is when they're with somebody and they decide to leave, or the relationship doesn't work out, I don't think I'll find someone better for me.
Okay, everyone says that at first. It's kind of like a mind thing just to get you through it. But at the end of the day, you know that you could find better. It's just like, since you're trying to get over that person so much that you're just trying to be like, make yourself, like, it's more like, it's not good reassurance, but it's just reassurance for yourself, because that's what you want to hear.
Let me tell you something, because this is something that I feel really helps, is if someone leaves your life, that means they're not aligned with your path anymore. And if you're trying to convince yourself that there's no one better, well, obviously there must be, because someone who's better suited and aligned with your path is going to be there. You're leaving this path behind. So if somebody chooses to leave your life, to exit your life, and they forced you, maybe, sometimes I like to say this, and I think that you've said this before, you've heard this, is sometimes when you won't let someone go, the universe will make them hurt you, so you have no choice but to leave that person. And that's true. It's so true, because sometimes you'll notice, I can't let go of this person. I care so much about this person, and I'm a person that just loves people so much, right?
Yeah, because it's like the things that you want sometimes aren't the things that you need. So
exactly.
God will just, sit there and just make them say things or just do things that tear you apart until finally either one, that person leaves you, or you decide to leave them, because they're obviously not meant for you.
And I've said this before. I told Kelly this a long time ago. I remember I said, there was like a cycle, right? And I said, anything you're going through in life, I said that you'll notice if a blockage gets put there, the blockage was there for a reason. And maybe you got over the blockage, and you like got over the little hurdle, but then another one appears. And every time one appears, it gets bigger, and you're like, I can't get past it. Well, there's a reason for that. So sometimes just understand what's meant to be is going to be as well. And if a person keeps treating you poorly and keeps hurting you, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's because you're not meant to be with that person anymore.
And it's something I want to say is, I just literally heard this like 2 days ago, right? And Kristen just said something about the whole like aligned path and like everything like that. And it was like, sometimes, when you're like dating somebody, right? And then you end up like breaking up, but that person lives like right down the street from you, or like literally like not that far away from you, right? And then you never bump into that person again, right? And it's so weird because you live so close, right? But you're not in the same path anymore. So they're completely away from you, right? And they don't come back. What's the coincidence, right?
Yeah, that's kind of
so they're not supposed to be a part of your path anymore. So they're not going to be brought there. But that means that there is other people around you that you could possibly meet. So don't sit there and think, oh, I'm not going to find better. Well, if you found that person and you thought at that time it was better, you could find way better than that.
If you've communicated to this person that maybe you want to move forward in the relationship, and they're telling you that they're just not sure, and you're constantly trying to cultivate something to say, well, this is why you should be sure of me. This is why you should be with me. We've done X, Y, and Z, and we're together, and this and that. You can't change their mind, okay? They have to change their mind themselves. Sometimes you can't change their mind unless you make a change. And do not wait. Okay, this is what you do. As I think you should just leave. If you're meant to be, you're going to be. But not only that, I think sometimes when you leave, they realize, oh, actually, I don't want this person to leave. There's a difference here. Let me say this. If you've told someone, hey, you're not putting in the effort in this relationship anymore, and they come out and they say, I just don't know if this is what I want. I don't know if I have time to put effort into somebody. Sometimes you have to understand somebody might not love themselves anymore and they don't have enough love to give to you. And then you have to think, what is fair to me? What is fair to me to be in a relationship when I fully love myself and they don't love themselves and they have not enough love to give to me? That's not fair to you or them now, because at this point, they can't love you because they need to love themselves. They need to focus on themselves, and you have to think about that for yourself. You're not on the same path with them. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, maybe that's not the case here. I've told the person, you've said, I've told them how I feel. And then they're like, all right, well, if you think that there's someone out there better for you, then I guess I can't stop you. That's it. You let them go because they just proved to you right there. They don't care enough about you to let you. They don't care enough about you to keep you around. They don't value enough. They don't appreciate you. So they let you walk right out the door, and you should not turn around and open that door once it's closed, because that door just closed for a reason. And there's other doors that are going to open for you. Now, if that guy says, he said that, and you're going to walk out the door and he says, you know what? This isn't what I want. I don't want you to leave me. I don't want you to move on. I don't want you to be in another relationship. I want you to be a part of my life, and I want you to stay, and I'm going to work on myself. There's a difference. Yeah. Do you agree? Do you think there's a difference between somebody who wants to work on themselves and stay with you, even though maybe they've said that, compared to somebody who doesn't?
And I think most of the time, if somebody says that, give them space. No matter what they say, especially guys need space, because obviously, I think a lot of the time, guys don't really come out and say that. So it's like when they do, give them space and let their mind think. Because even if they do say that, sometimes they end up changing their mind. And you have to give them space to realize really what they want. Because you can't sit there and, put a question in their head that they're like, oh, yeah, I want what you want me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want what you want me to do. You know what I'm saying? When really they need to figure it out on their own.
I'll say give them space and do not demand an instant answer from them.
No.
Sometimes a guy needs some time to figure out exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you to focus on yourself during that time period.
Yeah, just in case. If they end up changing their mind, you can move on easier. And I know that sounds selfish, but at the end of the day, if somebody brings that up to you, don't sit there and think that they wouldn't ask you that again. And be like, I'm not ready for this again. Because sometimes people say, things, and then all of a sudden they change their mind completely. So it's like you can't sit there and give somebody your all.
You also need to make sure that you're not just there to be convenient for them, that you're not a convenience, that they're not keeping you around because they just need somebody in their life and they just want somebody to kind of lean on, and you've always been there and they know you'll always be there for them. You need to make sure that you're not being that for them. A guy that's actually willing to improve for you, even if he said that, there's a difference.
You have to see change. Anybody can say anything, but you
have to see physical change.
Exactly.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. So you need to see change. Anybody can sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to change, but really, do you see change? Do you see anything in their actions that seems different? Because if not, then if they're not doing it now when they said that they would, they're probably not going to do it later.
But I kind of think it's important to propel change by initiating that you are not going to settle for that.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're somebody that's straight up and you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, I just... it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, whatever. If you sit there and you say that stuff, they're going to think, okay, I can get away with whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just going to settle for whatever I give you because you want me that bad, when really you need to stand your ground and be like, hey, I'm not going to sit here and stay with you if you're going to sit here and act like that, because I know if you really cared about me, you would change.
Because if you stay in a relationship with somebody and they say, well, I don't really know if this is what I want. I don't know if I have time to put the effort in this anymore. Say, well, it's okay. We'll just do with what you have. You're setting yourself up for failure. Not only you're setting yourself up for failure, but you're proving to them they can treat you however they want and you're going to stick around.
Yeah.
Do not do that. If you're a strong individual, independent, whatever, and strong, independent, young woman, young man, whatever you are, you're going to look at them and say, well, I think that if I'm going to be in a relationship, I deserve 100% effort. I give myself 100% effort. I give you 100% effort. I believe that I deserve 100% effort in this relationship. I do not believe I deserve 20%, 70%, the minimal amount. I deserve to be loved as well. And if they look at you and they're like, okay, well, I guess then, maybe this relationship isn't for you. Like I said, maybe then it isn't. Maybe you should move on, because sometimes people don't appreciate you until you're gone. Exactly. And if you're gone and you're already in a new relationship, then I say you move on from that, because sometimes people don't realize that. And that's why a lot of people, after they've broken up with you, they'll move on and maybe they're happy for a little while, and then they realize, I kind of lost something that was actually valuable, something that was one of a kind, something that I truly treasured, and I let it go because I took it for granted. Yep. Sometimes, and this is one thing I want to say, is if you're in a relationship, sometimes people just take people for granted because they get a little too comfortable. And that's when that's kind of normal for people to maybe say that. Sometimes people will mention that, or they'll think that. It's okay. We're going through life and things change, and we're changing as people. We change our mind. And if someone does tell you that, sometimes you just have to respect the truth. Yeah. If they don't want you in their life, you have to respect it and move on. But sometimes it is something you can work through. Yeah. But you want to make sure at the end of the day, that person does value you, and they're proving through their actions that they want to be with you. Yeah. There's a difference, like Kelli just said. If they tell you, I'm going to change, versus they actually change. Are their actions matching up with their words? Are they coexisting together and actually making you feel loved and cared for? Because that's important in a relationship. Yeah. We want to be loved and cared for. We don't want somebody to be in a relationship with us who's giving us 20%, and that 20% is them just, texting us a little bit once a day. We want somebody who's actually in a relationship, giving us effort, spending time with us, maybe, showing us our love languages, right? Yeah. We want somebody who's going to prove that to us. We want somebody who truly treasures us and values us in our relationship, appreciates us. We want to be appreciated. If you do not feel you're being appreciated, let me tell you, there is somebody out here that will appreciate you. Yeah. Somebody else that you are not going to have to ask for 100% from, because they will give you 100%, because they see you in that light. Yeah. They see you in that perspective, and you can't change their mind. Let me just say this. Is there people out here right now that look at you in 100% and you don't look at them that way?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like people that it's unrequited love. It's not requited, right? Yeah. Where they look at you and they say, I really like you, but you don't see them that way. You don't see them in that light. You don't see them romantically. So there is going to be other people that see you that way, that you do see that way as well. Yeah. There's going to be people. So if this relationship or this talking stage or these things don't work out, sometimes you have to understand things happen for a reason. People get blocked off for a reason. And when that door closes, another door will open. And sometimes things do work out because people do realize, okay, well, there's the potential to lose you, and I don't want to lose you, so I'm going to work on myself. I'm making a mistake. I've seen people say, well, the guy says or the girl says, I don't know if I want this. Like, okay, well, go right ahead. Go find something else. Go ahead and I'm going to give you some space to figure out what you want. And then they realize right away, yeah, this isn't what I want. Because then they start to realize what it's not like to have you in their life, and, what not being in your presence feels like. And that sometimes triggers a person into realizing, I need to change and improve myself to be with this person. Remember, relationships are not about proving yourself to the person, but improving yourself to become the better version of yourself.